Hello, good evening and welcome to Prime Business with me, Beverly Broom. Straight to our stories, and Energy Minister Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh has reiterated that Ghana will transition fuel to gas and nuclear by 2070. Already, the energy consumption in the country is derived from clean energy. Speaking at the 24th World Petroleum Congress 2023 in Calgary, Canada, Dr. Opoku-Prempeh urged investors to explore opportunities in Ghana since the country is committed to clean energy.
That means that Ghana would transition fully by 2070. And in that transition, our main energy source is going to be gas and nuclear and renewable. As we speak, 40% of our energy use in Ghana is already clean. It's hydro. It's clean. But here still we see the sense in committing ourselves to our goals. So that is where we want to go in our transition mix. But what our story is that let us have the technology and let us have the finances to enable us to participate in this transition. Our transition plan envisages that if so far since 2015, after Paris, you haven't paid, those who have polluted haven't paid, hope for their paying is not getting any better. So we should transition on our terms so that we don't bring unnecessary shock to already people who have least defenses or resilience against these shocks. So yes, we will participate. Yes, we agree. Yes, we don't pollute, but you are telling us to contribute. Yes, we are going to contribute. But also come around the table and come with clean hands. Come with the finances and the technology. Last night when I got to YYC, on the carousel waiting for my bags, there was an advert that was playing out by the 6 big companies in Canada. And they are moving to net zero through technology. They are not saying we are going to stop using oil and gas. So the technology to do with carbon capture storage, carbon capture utilization and storage, replanting our forests, and everything that we have to do, changing the fuel use in my country to gas. We've gone and done all these policies to support it. We have 18 standards and regulations to do with electrical equipment so that we don't get dumped by disused and unused and abandoned equipment from the West. We've put in the standards. We've moved all our thermal generation plants from liquid fuel to gas. We do that. So we are contributing meaningfully. We hope that as we...
Well, presently, 88.5% of the Ghanaian population has access to electricity. Dr. Opoku-Prempeh said the target is to get to the Sustainable Development Goal of 90% by 2024.
88.85% of the population have access to electricity. We want to get to our SDG goal of 90% by 2024 instead of 2030, which we have set to ourselves. 68% of our country has a form of modern method of cooking, where 37% is LPG, and we want to move LPG to 50%. 1% is electricity, and 27% is an improved gas cooking stoves for women. So we know very well that we cannot also continue polluting like others have. But please, support us to make our journey better than so.
Now, the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber is calling for the optimization of domestic gas production and utilization with clear pricing policies. According to Chief Executive of the Chamber, David Ampofo, the oil and gas industry is heavily untapped and needs to be explored further to realize its full potential. He was speaking at the annual Ghana Oil and Gas Conference.
Ghana's total oil production since 2010 stands at 560 million barrels, while the total gas production since 2014 is at 1.2 trillion of cubic feet. According to some players in the oil and gas industry, the country's reserves are incentivized. In an interview, Chief Executive of the Ghana Upstream Petroleum Chamber, David Ampofo said the country needs to increase exploration activities in the sector.
We want our reports to always end up with a focus. So at the end of the report, we are saying, what do we need to do? We identify 2 or 3 things. Let's look for too many things. One is we want to incentivize exploration. Exploration is where it all begins. If you explore, you find oil, you develop it, you produce it. If you don't find any, you're not doing anything. Okay, I mean, look, you heard that just 2 weeks ago we had 30,000 barrels. It's coming from the good old Jubilee field. Thank God for it. But we need more of it. You can see the activity is very limited. How do we incentivize exploration? What are we doing wrong? What could we do right? Let me put it that way. To get more and more investment. Foreign investment and local investment. When I talk about investment, I'm talking about both foreign and local investors. Of course, the magnitude of our tasks require huge sums of money that can only come from large companies. But working together, we go on. So that's a recommendation.
Government also reiterated its commitment to closing infrastructure gaps in the oil and gas industry to help the sector realize its full potential. The Minister of Energy, Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh, in a speech read on his behalf, said government is working to close the gap to attract more investments into the sector.
The government is also working hard to close infrastructure gaps, to improve the markets and ensure that we get the most out of our hydrocarbon resources. The success of Ghana's and Africa's oil and gas industry in the energy transition era are dependent on collaboration to ease the necessary funding and establish adequate infrastructure and markets both in country and at the continental level. Partnerships must be formed between governments and private businesses and national oil companies across the continent. In light of this, the government decided, with the support of Parliament, to join the African Producers Organization, APO, in August 2022.
The Chamber also expressed their interest in collaborating with government to address constraints facing the industry. Jesse Aram Abakpo's report read to you.
Moving on, the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority in Tema has held its first joint consultative committee forum after a long break due to COVID-19 pandemic. During the meeting in Tema, the committee introduced a new tax amendment act called the GRA Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023, also known as Act 1093. Now, this act amends some taxes, including adjustment to tax stamps on certain local imported goods. Our correspondent Elvis Washington was present at the JCC meeting and has filed this report.
The Joint Consultative Committee, JCC, consists of clearing agents, custom officers, custom house agents, national security officers, and the GPHA, among others. The purpose of this meeting was to discuss new guidelines, policies, and regulations introduced at the port and address challenges faced by stakeholders within the ports. The head of excise at GRA, Kwabna Apil Iwa Anto, announced the introduction of the GRA Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023, Act 1093, which includes adjustment to taxes. He explained that the new tax stamp would replace the previous schedule, introducing new products, rates, and changing the charging methods for some existing products on the tax stamp.
This year we have introduced the excise tax stamp, or the Excise Duty Amendment Act 2023 at 1093, that introduces that amendment has actually replaced the fair schedule attached to the existing Excise Duty Act, Excise Duty 878. And so now we have a fair schedule that is the amendment to the excise duty law that has replaced the previous schedule. And what the new schedule has done is to introduce, first and foremost, new products into the excise duty regime. It has also increased the rates for excise duty for some of the products, and it has also changed the charging method for some of the products.
In a detailed presentation to all attendees, Mr. Anto highlighted the items affected by the new tax stamp.
So the new products that have come in, we have fruit juices being introduced to excise. So currently we have excise duty of 20% since May on fruit juices. And we also have introduced excise duty on electronic cigarettes and electronic liquids. And we have also introduced excise duty on all sweetened beverages. Previously, we had excise duty on only carbonated soft drinks. Currently, all soft drinks, all sweetened beverages attract excise duty. As I said, was only on carbonated soft drinks. The rate was 17.5, and that has been increased to 20%. And also, we have increased the excise duty on spirits from 25% to 50%. So these are the changes that have been done in the excise regime.
Mr. Anto mentioned that the new Tax Stamp Amendment Act was launched in August and will take effect on the 1st of October to ensure compliance with the new requirements for products entering the country.
So on the 7th of August, the commissioner responsible for domestic tax, Mr. Jambra, launched the program for the imposition or implementation of the tax stamp on these products and announced some timelines. And he said that from the 1st of September, we have started the program. Everybody should get ready to prepare for the program. Everybody should prepare for the program. And then from the 1st of October, enforcement at all the entry points will begin. So if any of the new products that did not hitherto attract the tax stamp is coming from outside, currently from the 1st of October, those products will attract the tax stamp. And then from 1st October to the end of December, that is 31st of December, that is the transitional period, meaning that all the products currently on the market, like fruit juices, like all sweetened beverages that did not previously require the tax stamp, we will stamp them. So all people who are holding stock of those products must approach the nearest GRA office and then apply for quantity of stamps to be affixed to the stock that they are holding.
However, Johnny Mante, the TEMA chairman for the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders, believes that the announcement date for the implementation of the new tax stamp was late and the time frame for implementation and transitional period were too short.
And for us, the JCC is the solution center. That's where any problem within our space is solved. From here, we'll break into committees where there's issues and the problems that have been raised will be taken care of. Every single day, you realize that the processes within the port keeps changing and no adequate information is given. So again, we have it's come to everybody's notice that a proper work plan, which is already in the system, be communicated so people are able to know that what they are to expect within the port community.
For Joy News, my name is Elvis Washington reporting from Tema.
Now, participants at the Graphic Business Stanbic Bank breakfast meeting today are making a strong case for further expenditure cuts to match the country's current economic situation. They stated that current development in the economy show that the country is in crisis. Economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Ejapoma Jacket Dako, says government must show more commitment.
Economists in recent times have been asking government to be heavy on addressing the microeconomic challenges affecting Ghana's economy. Thus, they believe will consolidate government efforts in tackling challenges affecting the macroeconomic side of the Ghanaian economy. We're asking government to show more commitment in that regard.
We have put so much emphasis on revenue, but I don't think we are doing enough on the expenditure side to be able to get us back to where we expect to be. As Prof. Gachi just said, if you put too much pressure on those who are giving the revenue.
Chief Executive Officer of Petrosol, Michael Bosenbelt, said businesses are worried about the current development in the economy.
In moments of crisis, especially take a family setting, the focus is on food for the children. Is on basic needs. If you are flying, you're on air, and there's some emergency, whether you're in business class, you are in economy, that is not when you are requesting for some special, food food to be served you because you're in business class.
Dean at the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi noted that government can still do more to bring down the current situation under control.
What should be critical for us is what is the value of the indebtedness to the IMF, and not only to the IMF, to other creditors. Because when we procure debt, we need to see value in terms of the infrastructure that we have built for ourselves.
There is also a call to reassess government revenue mobilization drive to save businesses in the country.
From, your extended family to say that I have this problem and I need help. Because if there's someone who is unemployed, the person can easily access unemployment benefits. So these are the areas that I think once we match both and we are increasing the tax rate, nobody will have any problem, because you pay the tax and you know that government will also meet its obligations.
On the banking sector, Professor Gachi advised government to prioritize the recapitalization of the Bank of Ghana.
Yes, so long as you are weak, your capital base is eroded, the proper thing to do is to recapitalize. But the problem is government doesn't have money. So how will government prioritize recapitalizing Bank of Ghana? So that is the situation we find ourselves. And that is what some of us believe. While Bank of Ghana was compelled to finance government activities, Bank of Ghana would have been looking at its mandate of price stability and also being the last resort.
Reacting to this, Chief Director at the Finance Ministry, Eva Ment, said government has embarked on various expenditure cut measures.
When we talk about government expenditures, the biggest expenditure is compensation. How do you reduce compensation? In other countries, when they are in crisis, they lay people off. They lay workers off. In fact, in some jurisdictions, they lay policemen off. They lay teachers off. Here in our country, we haven't laid anyone off. Indeed, that is more of a social welfare system than actual expenditure management.
Most industry players and businesses are berating government for not sticking to its side of the bargain to adjust fiscal expenditure amidst the country's debt sustainability crisis, for which reason creditors have taken a haircut to save the situation. For Joy Business, James Ishen.
Now, ride-hailing firm Uber is partnering with Enterprise Insurance to drive financial inclusion in the informal sector. The partnership, which led to the unveiling of a new product known as Safe and Save, will ensure that drivers on the Uber platform get enrolled onto an insurance package, which will earn them some benefits. Here's more.
The partnership is aimed at increasing insurance growth from the informal sector, which has been very low in the country. The two partners are providing a combination of life and general insurance on a monthly premium base for drivers. Speaking to Joy Business at the launch, General Manager for Uber Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire, Marjorie Saint-Lô, disclosed that this is one of the significant steps to increase insurance penetration in the country.
This is one of the greatest innovation that we've seen in the ride-hailing sector. There has never been such product, and I also want to say in the insurance sector, we needed to get a specific approval from the NIC to see this product being born. It's also the first cornerstone of our efforts to create a more inclusive and more financial inclusivity for our drivers. We believe they need to be acting part of this economy and being able to benefit to the same benefits of all.
Chief Operating Officer for Enterprise, Nigel Nuno, hinted that bringing on board the Uber drivers will be the beginning of new initiatives to get more informal sector workers into the insurance inclusive drive.
For us, it's been a very high priority to include what we call the informal sector into the mainstream insurance industry. Insurance is typically for people only in the formal sector, and bringing in the Uber drivers who have typically been informal sector has been a big priority for us. So for us, once this model is successful, we want to replicate it for other members of the informal sector, such that eventually they'll all be included in the insurance industry. If you are trying to buy these products individually, right, it's a lot more difficult, a lot more expensive. But by bundling it, it becomes very attractive and very affordable. So that's why it's sustainable, because the success with the Uber drivers will prove that we can replicate it for other members of the informal sector as well. And even in the formal sector, the point is that you're getting a one-stop shop for all of your insurance needs. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Now, the European Union, the government of Ghana, and the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations have launched a €10 million project to support 50,000 vulnerable people grappling with food insecurity in some parts of the northern region of Ghana. This is to reaffirm the EU and UN solidarity to addressing global food security. Here's more in this report.
The world is facing a global food crisis aggravated by Russia's war on Ukraine. The Global Report on Food Crisis estimated in 2022 that up to 205.1 million people face high levels of acute food insecurity in 45 countries. As part of Team Europe's response to global food insecurity, €10 million has been allocated to support 14 districts in the northern part of Ghana. Erkad Razali is EU ambassador to Ghana.
In 2022, the European Union and its member states, in what we call the Team Europe approach, set aside €7.7 billion for food security across the globe, out of which €600 million specifically for food production, strengthen local food production system, and address humanitarian situation. And this is out of this measure that €10 million has been set aside for Ghana. I would like to mention that this decision has been agreed in a record time, at least for EU standards.
FAO Deputy Regional Representative for Africa, Yedi Yasmin, explained it is a 3-year project to support the Phase 2 of Planting for Food and Jobs.
The project is a 3-year emergency initiative aimed at rapidly enhancing food security and promotion of resilience in northern Ghana. The project is part of an EU regional response to address food crisis and economic shocks in African countries, which has been hit by global challenges. The project will promote various crop-specific agroecological systems and approaches and support the sustainable development commodities as highlighted in PFJ Phase 2.
Minister for Food and Agriculture Brian Ichampon expressed his gratitude and assured that the project will be executed diligently.
I'm happy with this grant from the European Union to be implemented by the Food and Agriculture Organization in the next 3 years. Next week, I will put in an official request for a consideration by the European Union to see if this fund can be scaled up. As the program targets 50,000 households or individuals in the north, this can be scaled up. One, within the 3 years, if we can increase the number of people that are being targeted, and also a longer lifespan and funding for the program.
Value chain actors will receive capacity building support, access to post-harvest technologies, and training on climate-smart agricultural practices.
On that note, we end Business Tonight. For more business news, you can log on to myjoyonline.com/business. I am Beverly Broom. Razak Musbao is next with sports. Please stay.